Hey, good morning, everyone. Junie and I are doing What Else Wednesdays. What else you should be doing besides SEO, PPC, and website design? And there are so many things. But the first thing I want to talk about, the thing I want to talk about today in general, is site branding and how, if you're doing job site branding, it can be your best marketing, your best advertising. It just comes back to this idea, if you're spending a lot of money on marketing and you're not delivering in a way that people can feel and see as high quality and above average, that you're kind of wasting money on marketing a little bit. It can be a waste if the delivered product is not awesome. And Judy's just going to talk with us during this podcast here, but it's ultimately one thing I like to talk to roofers about is the fact that, yeah, she's got great smiles, is the fact that like people aren't going up and inspecting your roof most of the time afterwards. They're not going up on the roof looking at your chimney flashings. As you guys can tell, I know that a lot of roofers like roast chimney flashings all the time. They're not going up and looking at those things most of the time. So the product delivery to them looks like the way the job site is branded. That's really the way they judge it. So, or how clean the job site is. And I'm not so ignorant to not understand that when you're doing a tear off that it's going to get dirty. But there's also, there's ways to kind of mitigate how messy that looks. And really what you're doing is demonstrating I care about the things you care about on the external side. So going up to the job site, looking like having project managers actually look and make sure that their prize bush is taken care of or whatever they mentioned in the intake process. But I want to talk about Catch-All for a second. That's a great way to brand your job sites. So you have to have a good brand though, and we'll talk about that in a second too, but it's essentially kind of it's a tarp alternative, but you can brand it, and then it also breathes so that if you're putting it over plants and stuff like that it doesn't burn the plant if there's a lot of heat. Would definitely be curious if you guys use it. So who uses Catch-All and what do you like it for? And then I want to talk about other things that you can do in your job site branding. One, yard signs. You can be a little bit more aggressive than some people with yard signs. You can put one in multiple places in the yard if you ask. And there's a lot of opportunity for folks just having branded vehicles and other branded things on the external. So a clean job site when you can. I understand the tear off is messy, but there's a lot of opportunity to keep a generally clean and well ordered job site. Let's get up and walk around, buddy. Yes, so it's not like a tarp where there's almost like a netting to it that creates this breathability, David. It's very, very cool. And that's one of the main problems, like in hot states and areas of the country, tarps can burn bushes, and that's a big deal if it's like on there for a full day and there's sun beating down. But yard signs, if you're not doing yard signs in every job, that's another big one. I want to talk about this. I read this book called Selling the Invisible. And it's really, really good. It's actually an author in Minnesota. I didn't realize that when I read it because I met the author later. But essentially what he talks about is people cannot see your service. And this is especially pertinent when it comes to roofers because they don't go up and look. Most of the time, they're not sitting up on their roof really inspecting your details. So the things that you do that are visible, David's giving a great point here. Hat, polo, paperwork, sign, and smile should all be in alignment. The things that they can see matter so much. If the work is invisible or the work is not as visible as you might think because they're not getting up on the roof and inspecting all of the little details, the things that are visible, like your professionalism, your swag, your truck, your yard sign, your Catch-All, are going to be the things that it's really what is you're bringing visibility to your professionalism. And he talks about in this book, Selling the Invisible, how a brown suit, and I don't think a lot of people wear brown suits these days, but they did a study on it, and a brown suit versus a blue suit, the brown suit did way worse. And how professional and trustworthy they thought the salesperson was. And just little things like that. It's kind of crazy how these things can affect the way people perceive us. David says, thank you cards and gifts are next level. Absolutely. Little things like that. It all comes down to they can't see all the details, but they can see your professionalism in other areas. So I'm talking about job site branding in particular today and how I think it's the best advertising. Because no matter how much advertising you do, if you're in a neighborhood, this matters the most in neighborhoods where the houses are close together. And if you're in one of those types of neighborhoods and you're not doing stuff to make sure that the exterior of the home looks nice as you're doing the project, it's harder to do the door knocking around the job site. It's harder to try to come off as this pro company when it doesn't look as pro. And we're kind of combating, just with roofing in particular, we're combating the fact that it does look messy sometimes. So there's other things that you can do to really make it feel good to the neighbors. And I think that that's important. I want to talk about real quick. So I said the brand is important, right? The brand. And, Heath Hicks did a video recently where he's roasting brands, and he sees a lot of them. But really what I want you to think about is, one, the name matters. Because I'm really not I don't necessarily think you should have, I wouldn't push QR codes because it's a little harder to scan if it's, in a little ways away from people and stuff like that. But a very big brand with an easy to remember name to me is more important. Easy to remember name. And the .com matches the name. It's hard. That's the hardest part. But what I'd say is the brand is the voice, and advertising, marketing, and stuff like that is a megaphone. So this is the way I'd think about it. Simple name, simple.com, that's easy to remember, and a big logo on your brand stuff. Let's see, what else do we got this morning? I feel like of course, truck wraps, of course, yard signs. And then I just wanted to kind of touch base. I hope most of you have seen this before, but there is a new product from Catch-All called the Nail Catch. And essentially it just goes around the downspouts of the gutters and catches anything that was washed into the gutters. So sometimes you'll have folks that are like frustrated by nails coming out in the yard or coming out of the downspouts. So I hope you guys know about this new product, the Nail Catch. They're essentially disposable, but they're really strong, and they catch debris from that downspout. So new product from Catch-All, and yeah. I hope I'm not actually silent right now, but we shall see. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great week. Junie hopes you have a great week. And the job site, cleanliness and branding can be your best advertising. For real. All right, bye.